you don't hate reading, you're just reading the wrong books, and I stand by that. Let's find your book taste, plus a little book haul. I used to think I hated reading until I realized I had no idea what my book taste was. So, what's a book taste? A book taste is basically like your movie taste. What type of movies do you like? If you've ever found yourself reading popular books just because they're hyped, but you don't really enjoy them, this video is for you. So I'm going to give you 5 steps on how to find your book taste so that you can start reading the books that you actually are interested in and will enjoy. Because reading should be fun. Step number 1, I want you to look at movies, TV shows, and games that you really like. I'm going to give you a top 2 of mine in each category right here. Now that you have those, I want you to write them down because we're going to need them written down for step 2. At step 2, I want you now to think about what you like about each of those things. Okay, I have mine written down right here. Let's go over it really quick. For my favorite movies, I have The Hunger Games because I really like anything dystopian, and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days because I love good banter. For my shows, I have New Girl because it's one of my favorite things to watch of all times, and I really love it because of the found family. I love anything where people find each other who are not necessarily related, but they all act like a big family. I love that. And then Rain, I love period pieces and I love just kind of the tension behind it. And for games, I love the game Werewolf, particularly because you have hidden identities throughout and I think it's fun, but I also really like the mystery side of it. And Pictionary because I love playing games with my family and I just have learned a lot about myself that I'm very family oriented. So here's just kind of an idea of what my list looks like. Okay, now you kind of know a little bit of what your taste looks like, but how do I find the right books? We're going to trial and error, but the most important part for step 3 is do not finish without guilt. Meaning, what I want you to do is gather all types of books that you think you might like, and if you're a few chapters through and you just don't feel like it's for you, do not finish it. You don't have to finish it. Now, if you're worried about cost for that, I recommend getting a library card. I recently got a library card, well, last year, and it has helped so much with the amount of money that I spend on books. Typically, what I do is I will get a book at the library, and then if I really like it, I will buy it for myself. That's just me because I have a reading obsession. Step 4, we are going to try different genres strategically. Here was my goal I set for myself. Each month, I wanted to read one romance, one classic, one thriller, and one fantasy book. Through those books, I tracked how I felt while I was reading them, and then I journaled at the end. Here is an example of how many stars I gave it, what stuck with me, and what I thought about the book. Step 5, while you are doing that, I want you to really think about the vibe that you're leaning towards. Are you leaning more towards the cozy side of writing, or are you leaning towards the dark gothic undertones in writing? Next thing you can look for is, are you more drawn to a plot driven book, meaning a fast paced plot that really focuses on the plot, or would like to focus on the emotional side of the character, aka their character arc? Do you like to take that journey with them? It took me a few months to really learn what my book taste was, but now that I know what I typically gravitate towards and what I wouldn't be interested in, even if it's famous on Book Talk, I don't waste my time on it. Personally, I thought that I really would be more interested in romance novels than I actually am. I actually don't really read romance typically. I was really shocked to find that I gravitate more towards dystopian, whether that's dystopian fantasy or just dystopian science fiction. I typically find myself more interested in those types of books. With that being said, and learning what your new book taste is, let's do a little book haul on books that I would recommend starting out with your specific taste. If you have found yourself wanting to read more of the classics, I'm going to recommend Pride and Prejudice if you love a slow burn, and Little Women if you love women's fiction and kind of that found family element. If you have found yourself gravitated more towards the dystopian side of things, with science fiction, I'm going to recommend Shatter Me, which is a really large series and can feel kind of daunting, but the size of the book isn't too bad, and the found family elements in this book is so good. I would recommend it. If you want a dystopian with fantasy, then I'm going to recommend The Will of Many. This is a large book and it can be kind of daunting, but it is really good, and I think personally it's worth the read. If you want a really good enemies to lovers romantasy where they don't end up together in the beginning and it is truly a slow burn, The Cruel Prince is a perfect recommendation for that. This also is written in that lyrical prose that a lot of people like, the cozy fantasy kind of side of things. And The Heartless Hunter is another example where they do not end up together in the first book, and there is a journey it takes for them to be together. And finally, for my last two, I don't believe I'm technically the right person to recommend these genres just because it's not my particular book taste, but I am going to tell you one book each that I enjoyed in these particular genres. If you find yourself liking historical fiction, I love anything by Kristen Hanna. I really liked The Nightingale. I also like The Women. Anything she writes, I read, and I really enjoy and find it sticking with me for a really long time. So Kristen Hanna's a great place to start if you like historical fiction. And like I said, romance is not typically the vibe for me or the genre for me, but I really liked the Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score series. This particular series was really good, and I read it really quickly. So for me, with romance, that is a 5-star read for me. I hope that was very helpful for you in identifying your book taste. If not, I'm so sorry. Thank you for sticking along if you're still here. This is my first ever long form video here on YouTube, so if you want to stick around, you can hit the subscribe button. I would love to meet you. Drop a comment of some other recommendations that you have, specifically if it's in the genre that I'm really not super familiar with, to help others out who might be interested in that genre. If you already know your book taste, tell me a little bit about yourself in the comments. I would love to meet you and learn about you. And as always, you can follow me on Instagram. I post a lot about my book writing journey and the querying process, which I am currently in on my debut novel, Directive 10. Remember, your reading problem isn't you, it just might be your book taste. I hope to see you at my next video. Thanks for sticking around. Bye.